Okay, so I'm starting this stream at my normal time, and it just happens to be right in the middle of me not being able to figure out what is going on. So the title and the description might be a little bit confusing. I'll explain what I'm going to do or what I'm trying to do. Before I do that, I want to share two things with you. One, the university that I work at is hiring a web developer full time. If anybody's interested, comment, send me a message on Twitter, get a hold of me somehow. I can give you more information. The second thing is I've decided that I'm going to do some small pre-recorded videos, some tutorial videos. A couple weeks ago when I started this, my original intention was to just live stream my normal workflow, just to show people what it's like to not skip through the mistakes. And I think in the last two videos, I've kind of gotten away from that, and I've put a lot more thought into, well, what am I going to say in the video? What am I going to do? And I've kind of prepared things ahead of time, which I think is good. And maybe that's a better viewing experience, but that's not really what I intended to do. So I'm going to try to split it up and keep it separate. So the live streams are going to be as close as possible to what I normally do. Just me doing my normal thing and narrating here and there along the way. And then I'm going to come out with some other videos. I have some topics in mind, but I'd love to know what kind of things you guys want to know about. So if you've seen anything in the live streams that I just kind of skipped over and didn't explain enough, you want to know more about it, let me know. If there's anything about my setup and the tools that I'm using that you want to know more about, let me know. Some of my ideas, I think maybe it'd be cool to go into the different tooling things you could use. So go more in depth into my code editor and some of my build tools, all the things I use in my normal workflow. So maybe I could do short videos on each particular thing. Another idea I had was to do a few videos on front-end fails, I guess I would call them. And they'd be my own experiences of times that I've just completely messed things up on a site. Just, I don't know, to give people an idea of, things happen. Sometimes you mess up and it's not the end of the world and you keep on going. So I've made some really crazy mistakes before, and I'm a front-end developer. Excuse me. So I don't know, I thought that might be fun. If you have any ideas or suggestions, or if you want to share any of your stories about any failures that you may have had, let me know. Okay, so enough of that. Let's dive into this problem. So here's our site. This is pretty much where we left it at. The only thing, if you'll notice, that's different, I have some links down here. So what I'm attempting to do, let me bring another window in here, and I can show you a little example. Okay, so this is the Franciscan Square site, and I showed this at some point last week. I did this site a while ago. One of the features that I put on here was this little menu here. You see it at first, it's on the bottom, and actually in this site you can't even see it at all at first. But as you scroll down, once it reaches the top of the page, then it's fixed at the top, or sticky. And this is just kind of an in-page menu, so you can see it It just takes you to different places on the same page. It has a scroll spy, so it highlights this little border to show you what section you're on. So it's trying to do something like that for this site. I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to use it for this site, but there's another project that I just found out about this morning that if I end up doing that project, I'll probably use it. So I decided to give it a try. The problem is I'm having trouble getting it to be in the center, which is crazy. It's crazy to me that I can't get this centered, especially since I did it here, obviously. So I'll show you what my problem is. I just switched over. Let me switch this back. So initially I tried to do this as a nav bar. I just gave it the title of nav, and you can see it looks kind of like this top nav, but it's here, so it's in the right position. But these will either go to the right or to the left, but not in the middle. So then my thought was, okay, well, maybe I'll just make it a div instead of a nav tag. It made it even worse. You could see when a minute ago, the links were all on the side here. So the problem, I'm sure it has something to do with the CSS. I've been using DevTools. So let me bring this over from my other screen. So I've had DevTools open for both of these sites, and I've just been going through the computed tab. So this gives you, it's easier to read everything in a row. So I've been going to this tab and just comparing the elements side by side, just to see what the difference is. And if I find a difference, I'm changing it over here on the site that's messed up, and nothing has worked. So this has probably been the last 45 minutes I've been doing this. Okay. So this, I'm going to try to fix it, and hopefully before the end, we'll have it fixed. This is going to be a great video to see what it's like when things are frustrating. Of course, the more frustrating it is, the better we'll feel when we actually get it working. So that's something good to look forward to. At this point, I'm really tempted to just completely start from scratch and see if we can get it to work. It shouldn't take that long, so why not try it? I'm going to take out this nav and turn it back into a div. And I know that's going to make everything look weird for now. You can see these are on the side. But I think if we... Okay, so I've given this a class of bottom nav. And that's a new class. I haven't added any styles to it. So let's start adding some styles. Okay, so here's our side nav. I like to put, and this probably isn't anything new, but I like to put my styles in order of where on the page those things go. It works really well for one-page sites. If you have a big complex sites, not so much. But right now our page is still, it's just one page and it's pretty simple. So this keeps things straight for me. Okay, so here's our hero section. That's the first one. And then this is going to go right below it. Let's put the UO in there. Okay, so I want these LIs. Let's go and float them left. There we go. Okay, so that makes them go in a line. We'll give them some padding. Just do something simple for now. Get 8 pixels all the way around. Okay. Not bad. And I want to inspect this. I want to see what this looks like compared to what it was. Okay, well that's a good sign. You can see as I hover over these elements in DevTools, it's highlighting this on my screen so you can see what element I'm talking about. This is the UL, and before, I didn't show you this, but before I started the stream, my UL was like, had 0 height, and it was as wide as the entire screen with 0 height. If I set the UL to float right or left, it had a height and a width and it looked pretty normal. But otherwise it just looked really weird. I couldn't figure it out. So this is an improvement. Alright, so I'm just going to do some changes right here in DevTools so we can see what's going on. Okay, for some reason we're down below. You can see this, the containing div here, the bottom nav div. What is going on there? Okay, so we have some padding. There's just all kind of weird stuff going on today. Sometimes it's like that. Okay, I'll worry about that in a second. What I want to try to do now is see if I can get this in the center. So, I didn't think that was going to work, but it was worth a shot. Now we'll try this. Also worth a shot. So right there I just tried margin 0 auto, and that works on block elements, but I'm not even sure if this is a block element at this point. It was before, but since I changed this, probably we're doing display block. Okay, and if I do that, I think I need to give it a width as well, or it won't work. So I'm not going to do that right now, because I want to try this first. Also didn't work. Okay, let me go back to Franciscan Square, because I thought that's how I was doing it here. At least some variation of that. Let me go back here. Okay, we had an inline block, and not just block. And then, okay, we did have text align center. And I have no margins set here. Okay. Let's try inline block. Still nothing. Oh, it's still floating this. Well, that makes sense. I have it floated right. There we go. Okay, so let's see what. Okay, it was the combination of inline block and text align center did that. All right, so in case you didn't catch that, My problem was I had left this class of right in here, and in the materialize framework that I'm using, right is a class that comes built in, and it just says float right, and then with the important tag. I had forgotten to take that out when I had copied and pasted from this top nav. So that was part of my problem. Earlier when I was trying this, I had taken it out for a while, so that probably wasn't my problem earlier. I'm still not sure what my problem was, but I'm glad that that was it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put some of these styles in. There is actually a way to link up your DevTools in Chrome with your files locally so that changes you make in DevTools can be saved. I've never taken the time to learn how to do that. It would probably save me a lot of time if I did. Maybe one day when I get some time, I'll look it up. Or if somebody can, if it's really easy and you can just comment and let me know how to do it, or point me in the direction of a tutorial, that would be cool too. But for now, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to put this in. It's not really a lot right now. So if you remember on that container, that containing div that we called bottom, gave it a class of bottom nav, we're going to put text align, center, and then on that UL, we're going to give it a display property of inline block. And so we're going to save that, and then we're also going to remove right from there. Awesome. Okay, that's great. The other thing it did that I was a little worried about at first was it popped this section down. So a couple minutes ago, I took a few seconds and just kind of looked at it, not realizing that I had floated this. I didn't understand why this was up so far. It looked like when I moved this over, it was going to overlap this. The float makes sense. When you float something, it kind of messes up the natural flow of how those elements stack. So that fixed it when I took away the float. CSS positioning was one of the trickiest things for me to really wrap my head around, and there's still some tricky stuff like now that it's just trial and error. I try some things. As I use it more and more, I remember things, and that's kind of how I recommend doing it. You could probably go in and read documentation, read all about CSS and memorize everything, and that would be okay, but it's a lot more fun to just build stuff and try it out. And then eventually you pick up on it. Alright, so now that's the toughest part. We're going to do just a little bit of styling before we move on to some of the things we need JavaScript for. So we will need JavaScript to watch the scroll on the page till it gets to that point. When it gets there, we're going to have to change the positioning of this div. And at that point, we're going to give it a position of fixed. And that's what's going to make it stay at the top. Now, for this particular site, since we have this nav at the top, we probably want it to be fixed right below this nav. But for my other project that I may or may not be working on, this is probably going to completely take the place of the top nav. So it's going to be fixed, all the way at the top. Either way, it's not a big deal. We just have to set how far from the top we want it to be. So that's probably the only other tricky thing that we're going to have. For now, I just want to at least give it a background color so that we know exactly where that div is, and then we can really see when it goes sticky, exactly where that cutoff is. Because I'll probably want to make this a little bit thinner. I don't like all that white space there. It's unnecessary. I'd also like to, if we have time, make at least one of these a drop down. When you click it, more menu items will come up. I'd like to see how that looks, so I'll probably be using that in this project coming up or a future project. Okay, so let's put in just a background color, and I'll give it I don't know if you can hear that buzzing sound. Sorry, that's my phone, but it looks like it's a spam call, so definitely not going to answer that. Let's give it a color we haven't used yet. So I have these built-in SAS variables for all the official colors for the university that I'm working at, that I'm doing the site for. So we'll do FUS. Let's try the light blue. I don't think we've seen the light blue. I don't know that I would use this color, for the live site. We'll just see how it looks. Okay, not bad. Definitely need to change this color here, these LIs. So we're going to go down here to these LIs. Now there are A tags in here, so I'm hoping that I can just add this to the LI class and it'll change the color. If not, we'll have to drop down and do it directly on the A tags. Oops, and I just realized that I don't have my chat open, so I apologize if somebody's been saying anything in chat and I didn't see it. So I'm not actually sure if, since I opened the chat window now, I would see any of the stuff that was typed in before or not. I've never done that before. I usually have it open, so if somebody did type something in and I didn't respond to it, just retype it, please, and I'll try to respond. Also, the delay, there's like a 1.5 or 2 minute delay or something crazy, it seems like. So if you type something in, based on what I've just said, I'm probably like a minute ahead at that point. So you might not actually hear my response to what you type in if I say the response. If I type a response back to you, you'll get it immediately. But I don't want you thinking I'm ignoring you. Wow, another phone call. I'm popular today. And that is my dentist. I'm also not going to answer that right now. I think they're just reminding me I have an appointment this week. I just got myself off track. Okay, font color, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so color, and let's just make it white for now. And that should show up against that blue. See? Okay, so it did not take effect. So what I probably have is somewhere in CSS elsewhere, I have the color added directly onto the A tag. I may even have it may even be important somewhere, but we'll just drop this down to the level of the A tag, and let's try it now. Great. Okay, that works. So now we have, like I said, I would want to make this thinner. I would want to make this font size a little bit bigger, possibly make these all caps. But for now, this will just give us something to look at. So now we're going to go into some JavaScript. We'll go over here to my JavaScript file. And I'll just go down the bottom and give us some space here. Okay, so we already have jQuery on this project. We need to load jQuery for the materialize elements to work. So since we're already loading jQuery, we may as well use it. It kind of makes everything a little bit easier. So what we want, so here's what we need to do. We need to track the scroll position. I'm going to track the scroll position of of the div, and what do we call that? Of bottom nav. And then when bottom nav is at the top, we're gonna change to position fixed. Okay. Sometimes I like to just write comments for myself before I code things out so that I don't forget a step along the way. So first things first, let's track this scroll position. So since I've already done something similar, I'm not going to try to rethink it, go through all the documentation again. I'm just going to check out what I did. So I have that repo for Franciscan Square up on GitHub, and let's check it out. I'll bring it over. Bring it over here so everybody can see it. So we go on repositories. There you go, Franciscan Square. Okay, we'll go in JavaScript app.js. I always call my JavaScript file app.js, even if I'm not actually making an app. When I first started organizing my code with build tools, I think the first example I looked at called their JavaScript file app.js, and they had their folders. Their main working folder was app, and then the production folder was dist. I just always keep that the same for all my projects, so I don't want that to be confusing to anybody. This is actually just a static website at this point, but it's just always app. That does get a little bit confusing for me when I'm working with React project that has files called app. So sometimes I will change that up and I'll name it something like scripts.js or something. But for now, it works. Okay, so let's find it. Hopefully I've commented my code well, and I'll be able to tell where it's at. Okay, here we have the submenu. On this other side, I didn't call that bottom nav, I called it a submenu. Here we go, sticky submenu. Oh, okay, cool. This is why it's really awesome to comment your code. Let me make this bigger, so make sure you can see this. Okay, so I totally forgot where I got this code from or how I did it. I had an idea of how I did it, but I couldn't remember exactly. And it turns out that I found some code on CodePen from Mark Senf, and I credited him here, and I modified the code. Usually when I do find code from CodePen or somewhere else, GitHub, Stack Overflow, I always like to give people credit even if they don't actually ask for credit. As long as they have a license on it that allows me to use it, then I credit them. If I change it, I do make sure that I say it's modified. Maybe I'll mess it up, and I don't want to make the person that originally did it look bad. So I add that part about modifications just so people know the changes are from me. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy all this. Including where I got it from. Of course, this is more than that. I should have known. Okay, so this is all of this here. So let's grab it all, and then we can go through it over there. Let's make sure we get it where we started. Okay, so it starts there. We don't need the scroll spy. I'm not going to use scroll spy for this one. And Scroll Spy actually comes built into to Materialize. So I don't have to download that plugin separate. It's already there. So we could use it if we wanted, but I don't need it for this project now. So I'm going to move this over. We don't need it anymore. And let's pop this in at the bottom. Okay. All right, and I figured that I didn't need this bottom part, but I thought I'd bring it over just in case I needed it. Wow. Okay, so if you see here at the bottom, I also added in exactly what he had in CodePen, so the license that he was using in CodePen. So you can check that out in the GitHub repo if you want to read it all. But basically, I'm allowed to use it, and I may not even have to attribute that, but I did anyway. All right, so hopefully we'll just have to change a little bit, and this will work. So definitely we're going to have to change this class here, this submenu class. So I'm going to go ahead and select everywhere where it says submenu. It looks like it's just two places. If you're using Atom as your text editor and you're on a Mac, you can press highlight a word and then press Command D, and then it'll just automatically highlight that word elsewhere, and then you can edit every location at the same time. So if you see, let me get them both in here. I have two cursors here. This is multiple cursors, so I can put in, what do you call it, bottom nav. Bottom nav. Okay, so that's super helpful if you need to edit the same thing in multiple places. I think other editors have the same thing. The hotkeys might be a little bit different, and I can't remember what the hotkey is on Windows. I have used it before. It's been a while since I used the PC, but that is definitely an awesome feature that has helped me. So I'm just going to change that and see if it worked. I can't. The page isn't really long enough to try it out, but one way I can just check things out is see if I have any errors. So we'll go here and look in the console. Okay, so I do have these things are missing, which I'm not using them right now, so I'm not worried about it. In-page nav is not defined on line 96. Okay, so let's check out line 96. Oh, okay. So it seems like we didn't copy over everything we needed to. So I'm just going to check very quickly on my other screen where I have the repo still open. I'm going to grab in-page nav. Oh, okay. I see what that function does. I think we can safely take this out. We'll just comment it out for now. Let's see. Okay. I had said before this was going to go all the way up to the top. We probably want it to stop here instead. But you can see, because we gave it a background color, as we scroll, this starts to scroll down too. So all we would need to do to change that is we'll go here to where it says top 0, and we'll just give it, we'll check what the height is of this nav. I can't remember. I think it's 80. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's add a 83. Okay, 83. So if we go back here and say top 83, then that should give us, oh no. Let's see. I guess that was not the place. Position fixed, top 83. That's pretty weird. I'm not sure why I did that. Okay. Well, the quick fix to see if this works is let's just take position fixed off of this one. So this is navbar fixed. And what does it say position? There we go. So we'll take that off. See, and now we can see it. Okay. So you see that becomes sticky. There. Awesome. Okay. I did go 5 minutes over. Sorry about that. But we were so close. So basically, we accomplished what we wanted to. And if you wanted to make this even better, what I've seen people do, different sites do, is that they have their top nav and then they have this, and then they come together at the bottom and just kind of collapse into one. That's kind of a cool effect. Try to collapse it and make it skinny so there's a lot of space to read, but and you still have everything. So you kind of have this like third nav that happens there. I also like to do sometimes, especially if it's going to be a site that people view a lot on their phones. I like to have it when you scroll down, you actually can't see this, and then as soon as you start to scroll up again, it appears. And that kind of mimics how things work on a phone anyway. That top bar will just disappear on your phone as you scroll down, and so it's kind of a natural thing. You'll notice the donate button is also still fixed here, so I would fix that. But anyway, let me know what you think. If I missed some awesome thing that I could have done or some easier way to do this, I'm sorry I didn't get to go through the code that I copy and pasted. Maybe I'll put that in a video. There's just no way I could have done that again from scratch with the amount of time that we had. So check out the repo. I think I have my GitHub link for my YouTube profile, so check it out. It's the Franciscan Square repo. The file is app.js. And you can see the comments are in there, so you'll be able to find it if you want to walk through that. And I'll put that on my list of maybe videos to do, because it is kind of cool. But once again, it wasn't really me. It was, I got that from CodePen, so you can check it out on Mark Sense CodePen. And thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow.